So welcome to the Hendon FC YouTube channel when we look back in time once again. Today it's Saturday, November 1988. It's Reading versus Hendon in the FA Cup. And delighted to welcome back Colin, Tate and Dave Root. Guys, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Steve. Very well.
So last time we spoke, we had a look back when Hendon won the Middlesex Charity Cup against Wembley at Wembley Stadium. So obviously that was a great night. This was a 4-2 defeat. So we're going to look back on lots of goals. But before we get to the Reading game, to get there, we had a comfortable first round win. Hendon 5, Harwich and Parkston 1. Ian Dowie got a hat-trick. Colin, you scored on that one as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, it's funny. You remember the sort of the early rounds, but in a very different light to the first round proper, because it's sort of you're qualifying in your head to get to the first round proper, and then it becomes clear and you have clarity of thought after then. But if you get knocked out in the early rounds, the relevance of it seems to drain away. Yeah. But we didn't. We got on and got to the first round.
So through against Harwich and Parkston. Next, we're up against Braintree. We beat them 3-1. Dowie scores another couple. Phil Gridley's also on the scoreboard. And then in the final qualifying round, after a replay, we beat VS Rugby 2-0, goals from Gary Keane and Dowie. So Dowie's on fire, and we're off to Elm Park in front of a crowd of 5,086. What was the mood in the camp, guys, before we got there?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was good. It was positive, and I think the pressure was on them. That's the thing, when you play a professional team, which you always wanted to do, to pit yourself against them. There was no pressure on us at all. They were the ones under pressure, and that told during the game, which I'm sure we'll allude to as we go further into the interview.
So kind of in the dressing room before the game, what were the kind of tactics? What were you told, Rooty?
Blimey, I can't remember word for word, but it would have been a very similar thing. As long as we do what we've got to do, and as Tate said, like the pressure's on them. We do our jobs. We go out there and perform as we know we can as a team and individually. Then we're halfway there. So it was a very uplifting, positive thing. It wasn't. Excuse me, it wasn't anything like keeping the score down or anything like that. It was, look, we can get something out of this. And we all went out there believing we could.
So our strike force that day was Tate and Dowie. The Reading centre forward, I guess their standout player, Trevor Senior.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about him? Were you given any special coaching before the game? Were you warned about him?
We knew he'd come out of non-league, so we knew that he would know what we were feeling. And how we were. So I think I don't think we really went into the individual things of what they did. We just had to look after ourselves and did what we did. And as long as we did what we did, then they had to overcome that sort of thing.
So we did what we did, and we did what we did, and they did what they did, and what they did was score fairly early on. So
Yeah.
so we were already a goal down. Thoughts at that stage, Tate?
Well, I thought it was a good goal. I mean, my recollection was he sort of brought it down, hit it on half volley. I think it just went inside the post, didn't it, Dave? So it eluded Dave. They had a chance.
The second one, wasn't it?
Was that the second one?
I think was the first. Was that one of them was? Yeah, one of them was like that, and one of them was.
I think that was the first one, the half volley from the edge of the box.
Was it?
Yeah, they went 1-0 up, which is it's a very good goal scored by him. But I don't think that's the thing, Steve. I think that my thoughts were that there was no pressure. Okay, they scored early, but it was no dramas. We'll be able to sort of get some traction and get some foothold back into the game, which we did, I think. But
we had a couple of first half chances in the first half, but when you kind of go 2-0 down and you're up against a pro team, you're kind of thinking, all right, we may not have any pressure on us, but this could be a cricket score if it carries on like this.
I didn't think that way, Dave. I don't know about you.
No,
we
never thought like that. We were going through a run. We'd already, as you said, about the Wembley game was in June. This was in
November
of the same year, a different season, but same year. And we were doing well. We was a comfortable, team. And I don't think, yes, we were 2-0 down, but I don't think we still believed in what we were going to do. There wasn't no heads dropping anyway.
So at half time, obviously we're a couple of goals behind. Team talk, what was this an uplifting one that you can still do it, or what do you remember what was said at the break?
Well, I think that there would always be some firm words said in no uncertain terms from Ronnie and the other coaches. But I think we just had to carry on doing what we were doing. We knew that. Well, I certainly knew. I mean, we had a really good midfield. We had a good side right throughout. Ian was always, due to get a goal, and he was riding on a crest of a wave. You've got Dave at the back, so we're solid in goal, solid in defence until Dave took out Alan Campbell, of course, and then
still lives with me now, Tate.
Yeah, does it? I don't think. And then I just thought we could claw our way back in. We weren't. There's no way that we were looking as though we were going to be overrun. And of course, we got a goal back pretty early on, and you just felt the tide was going to turn, and it did for a period of time.
So talk us through the goal. So Ruti, I think the whole thing kind of started with you. You kicked it out. Dermot cross, flicked on by Ian Dowie, and Keeney has narrowed the deficit.
Yeah,
that must have felt brilliant.
Oh, it did, because at 2-1, and as you said, Ian was on an absolute run. Every confidence he was going to nick one. So yeah, once that went in, you could see everyone's delight. No one everyone not hugged everyone. Do you know what I mean? It was like, right, here we are. Let's get on with it. Let's go to work, as Wadey said, and let's go out there and try and get the other one back. And we were very, very confident we could.
And I think at that point, we brought on Duncan Hardy. What did he bring to the team?
Well, the thing is, was Tate just said about me taking AC out. I took AC out just before the end of the first half. I come out, done my normal, went through everyone. And unfortunately, I copped AC in the back. And he went off, I think it was only a couple of minutes before half time. I remember walking in the dressing room. No, we didn't sub or anything. We walked in the dressing room and AC was laying on the bench, in a lot of pain. It was like, oh God, it wasn't the best thing I'd ever done. But then that's when Duncan come on. So Duncan come on at the start, for the second half. But Duncan, look, he's a strong lad. You put your faith in Duncan all day long. So.
All right. So we're at 2-1. Unbelievably, not too long after that, we've made it all square. It's a Dermot corner. I think Martin Duffield, had the first shot. It wasn't easy to tell. And Dowie's there with not his greatest finish, but it didn't matter. It's 2-2. Thoughts then?
Here we go. Second round, bring it on.
Yeah, the thoughts were. And the other thing that I'm doing with that, Dave picks it up, but I think, Steve, you were behind the goal that we were defending in the first half with Simon and David and what have you. So predominantly all the Reading supporters were in the stands and around behind the goal that we'd scored in, and you could see there was a tide change, and you can see you could hear the disgruntles and all the from the crowd getting on their back. So the pressure was now building on them, and we took, I think, some energy from that. And we thought it's just business as usual, really, because we were, as Dave said, we had a really good side at that time. And, you're not overawed. You're confident in who you are and the people that are around you. So, when we got back to 2-2, it wasn't a great surprise. I mean, you can see by the reaction when we scored the second goal, it was just, okay, let's see if we can push on and get another one.
And it was actually you, Colin, who almost did push on and get another one. You're not clean through, but you've got a defender on your tail. You've got the goalkeeper rushing out, and you kind of get a toe to it, and you lob the keeper from 30, 35, 40 yards out, and it drifts wide. But crikey, we could have gone 3-2 up then. Yeah,
I mean, looking at the, it was different football. I don't know what you think, Dave, but it's such different football then to what it is now. When we were playing that particular game, the defenders could pass the ball back to the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper could pick the ball up. So as a striker, you'd shut the defender down. You would run so many yards that was a waste of time because the fullback or the centre half would just knock the ball back to the keeper. And it's much more of a technical game now. But that was one of our best moves, I think. The ball's knocked up, Ian flicked it on. I think Duff knocked it into Ian flicked it on, sort of down between the centre half. And I always remember that it was just a race to see who was going to get there first. And the keeper was way out of his goal. And I just managed to get in front of the defender and him and just thought, well, there's no option. Let's see if we can just go for it. And it just drifted past the post, which was clearly disappointing. But as Dave said, that would have been great had that goal gone in, because the pressure would have really been on them.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think we would have gone on. You will never know, obviously, but I would have liked to think we would have gone. If we'd gone back from 2-0 down to 3-2 up, I think that would have been.
So sadly, we didn't score, and sadly, Reading did. So they've then now gone 3-2 ahead. Did you at that point think we're still in this game?
I think with the sort of managers and coaches that we had with Mickey, Ted, and Ronnie, and that, Bill Fenlon, the people around it, they didn't let you not believe. If you weren't that sort of character, you was in the wrong dressing room. So it was always a case, no matter what, we could get one back, or we could get something out of it. I mean, at the end of the day, a draw in the FA Cup first round, I mean, that's, then taken back to Claremont Park. That's a result. That's a really good result, financially, and, as football, that was a really good result. So no, we were never going to throw the towel in. In fact, they got allowed them the fourth because we wanted to get the third back.
And Colin, when the fourth went in, that really was done and dusted, game over, sadly.
Well, probably, yeah. I mean, I think as Dave said, we were pushing on, because the way that we played is that we always wanted to score another goal. Rather than sort of sit back and see out a draw or whatever. I mean, we'd rather go out all guns blazing than go out with a squeak. So, I mean, looking at the footage, I remember they seemed to get a lot of change down our right hand side, didn't they? And Erskine was in the frame a lot of the time, bless him, because he sort of had 2-on-1 most of the time. I think Dave made a good save at the near post when they were piling on a bit of pressure. But our instinct was just to push on and see whether we could outscore them. And of course we didn't. When the fourth one went in, of course, it's a bit of a mountain to climb, but we gave them a good scare.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the difference in levels, there's so much of it evolves around the fitness, that because they're pro, they're more fitter than us. Because they're full-time, they're more technical, they've got a bit more technical than us. And if we had been full-time, I think we would have been much more. It's that last 20 minutes where their fitness showed a bit more. And I think that is on most non-league games. The fitness in the last 20 minutes is where the pros come through.
So yeah, we're kind of done and dusted then. It's 4-2, it's game over. What was the mood like in the dressing room at the end? Kind of feeling that, okay, fair enough, we've lost against, as you said, a fully professional and a fitter team, or we had the chances and we maybe could have got a replay out of it.
I remember being devastated there weren't a bar.
Was there no bar?
No, they brought in Trevor Senior brought in a pack of lagers in a case.
It was, I tell you what, Dave, I remember it. It was a slab of warm beer, brown beer, bitter. It was horrible.
Oh, was it bitter? Was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, horrible. Nobody drank it. No. It was like an insult. But the feeling was that we were disappointed because we came so close, I think, to really scaring them. And you can hear when the second goal goes in from that grainy sort of picture and the sound that the crowd are getting on Reading's back. And we did try to take advantage of that, but we just didn't have enough, I think, as Dave said, towards the end of the game, second half, where they scored their goals. We were pushing on, and their fitness, I think, told a little bit better than ours. But we were disappointed. We had a good day, gave a good account of ourselves, and gave them a scare.
We held our own, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think the score flattered them, to be fair. I think 4-2 flattered them in respect of the game that we had, I feel. I'm going for that anyway.
No,
was there Was there a big difference playing? I'm sure there was a big difference playing at a pro ground compared to doing the non-league, which obviously you guys were doing week in, week out.
I think that there was in your head because you was going to a pro game, and at the end of the day, we all wanted to be a pro. You know, everyone wanted to be a pro. So yeah, you was going to a full-time club. So it was special. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a lot of the lads have played, you know, because a lot of the guys that fall into non-league have been with pro clubs, and they played at big stadiums, and whether they're empty or whatever, but they played at big stadiums or normal stadiums, and that sort of puts you in good stead when you get into that sort of situation that you've done that. You're not overawed really. It was nice to have they had about 5,080 people in there. I think the 80 was our lot.
That many?
But yeah. But it was great, you know. It just incentivises you more to play better, I suppose, to give you that bit of an edge.
It's what you play. It's what you go for. The FA Cup. I mean, look, who doesn't dream of the FA Cup when you're a kid? And when we spoke about walking out of Wembley, you know, you watched the FA Cup final. You know, with the teams walking out of Wembley, and to get into the FA Cup first round was huge. But the next trick then was you wanted the third round. That's when the big boys come in.
Yeah,
that was your goal. You know,
how far, Colin? Did Richard? I'll be asking the same question in a second. Colin, how far did you go in the FA Cup during your career?
That was the furthest I've ever been, first round.
And Dave?
Yeah,
I played in the second round 3 times.
Who were they against? Do you remember?
We Plymouth Argyle when I was at Barking. Aylesbury. We beat, when I was at Kingstonian, we beat Brighton in the first round and drew Aylesbury in the second round, which was
that's a bit of a downer.
It was a bit, and they beat us.
Yeah.
And I think Plymouth again Plymouth again when I was at Kingston. It was live on Sky. I'm sure that was the second round as well. Yeah.
Okay. So on this particular day, we came home empty-handed. Before we finish, guys, any Ted Hardy stories? I asked the Dowie brothers. Any Ted stories just to wrap us up?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I mean, Ted. You know, I don't want to disrespect him at all because you can't. He was just a legend, absolute legend. But you know, he would get his words mixed up sometimes. And I know that when we were at Hendon, I can't remember who we were playing, but we had a bit of a shocker in the first half. And he came in and he was apoplectic in the first half. And Alan Campbell was there. He's having a go at the back four, and he was screaming at AC and Andy O'Brien and what have you. You know, that they were useless and all this. They need to pick the game up. And he said, and he screamed at, "You're all at 7s and 8s at the back," and carried on straight. You know, of course it's 6s and 7s, and then Campbell's shoulders started going, and you know, and then it's just infectious. It's like being at school where you're being absolutely slaughtered, and then we just started giggling around. It was just a Tedism, you know. He was just really funny, so funny sometimes, you know, because he was so angry. He just couldn't get his words out in an orderly fashion. Very funny.
Ruti, anything from you?
I think the thing we've said is, as Tate said, the man was an absolute legend. He had his own way of doing things. He knew how to build a team, without a doubt. But for me, he did, you know, as Tate alluded to it, he did go mental at times, absolutely, you know, throwing things and all the rest of it. And if someone had a bad day, he would dig them out proper. But the minute he walked in the bar, if one person said anything about his player, he would lay into them because they were his players. He was allowed to slag them off. He was allowed to tell them how useless they were. No one else was. He put them on the park, so he took the responsibility for that. And I think that's a good standing for a man.
Oh, he was lovely. I mean, the first season that he became manager, we were, you know, as we know, in a relegation battle. We had that epic last game against Slough, and I was scoring a few goals and doing quite well. And And I always remember he sort of collared me as I came out of the changing room. And he said, "Tate," and he just pulled me to one side. He said, "Look, you're doing really well. I'm going to give you an extra £5 a week because you're scoring goals." Now, I reckon he paid that out of his own pocket, but it's not a lot of money, but it was the gesture. And that taught me something, then. It was just a tiny little, that I've got confidence in you, you're scoring goals, carry on doing the stuff that you're doing. And it was just a really nice touch. And I've always remembered that. And that was the softer side of him, the more considerate side. As Dave said, he could be, well, Mr. Angry, couldn't he? A lot of the time.
He was lethal. He was lethal. When he went, he absolutely went.
Mm.
So, listen, thank you once again for joining us. It's been nice to look back on some good footage this time, good quality footage of the Reading Cup game, and also to remember one of the greatest managers Hendon have ever had, the late Ted Hardy. Guys, stay safe. Lovely to see you again. Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you at Silver Jubilee Park, hopefully this season when we remember Dermot one more time. But till then, thank you once more.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve.
See you later. Take care, all.
Cheers, Dave.
Done up. Yeah, Tate. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.